Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. This is Adam. So this weekend's big release was, will be, because it's Friday. Today's the day it came out. Ant-Man-the-Wasp. The next entry after Infinity War to continue the story of what happened to certain heroes and why they weren't in Infinity War. And I'm going to spoil the movie. So if you haven't seen it already, or if you haven't seen it but are going to and don't want to be spoiled, I would cut it off after I say generic should you see it or should you not. But if you've seen it or if you have no intention of seeing it, you just want to hear what the movie is, you can continue on listening. The basic premise is the movie is fantastic. It's another really great entry into Marvel Studios' collection that they've put out over the last 10 years. And I do really like a lot of the ways they continued the story organically out of Civil War and kind of fit it in nicely. So it takes place just before Infinity War, so there's a reason why he's not there and Wasp isn't there. So yeah, if you haven't seen it and you needed someone to tell you to see it, then I would definitely recommend you go see this movie this weekend. It's definitely worth your time, especially if you're in my area. It's a shitty day, so why not go and spend some time doing that instead of trying to I don't know, sit in the house or go fight the crowds at the mall or something, because it's a really shitty weekend here. So from here on, I'm going to spoil the movie. But there's not really too much to spoil because it's a very clear-cut plot. It's not there's no big reveal except for the post-credit scene, which I'm going to address first after I do this little part. The post-credit scene is going to give a lot of... it's really meant to try and capitalize on what happened in Infinity War, and it created that same sense of urgency and dread that the opening of Infinity War did, where they showed the Marvel Studios logo but with no sound, and it just went to the Asgardian ship giving the distress call. It was very similar to that, so when they do the way they did it was they send Scott into the quantum realm in the mid credit scene. Hope and Janet and Hank, they send them into the quantum realm. And then just when he's done, they're about to pull him out, they all turn to ash. Which, I know I certainly predicted that one of the post-credit scenes of this movie was going to be, at a minimum, Hope and Janet turning to ash, because I figured that Hank would be an integral part of making the movie work, Infinity War Part 2 work a little bit better, because it seemed like there'd be an element of time travel between the leaked set pictures showing Scott at the Battle of New York and showing Tony in uniform as a SHIELD agent on the helicarrier. So it seemed like they were going to be going with more of that kind of route, and I certainly thought you would need Hank's help with that, because Scott isn't quite as technically savvy as Hank or either Hope or Janet. But it was still a great way to end, because now Scott's trapped in the quantum realm, which he can't get out on his own. But he would need the help of the other three on the outside to pull him out. And on top of that, there's also they're all just dead now with everyone else. And the second scene is the one that really did the same thing as the opening of Infinity War, where it cuts to a TV screen. It's got the bars on it, the analog bars, like the test screen, and it says there's going to be an emergency broadcast imminently, and there's just the noise of the emergency. Which, if you ever watched TV at 3 a.m. and there was that noise, and there was someone come over, this is a test of the emergency alert system. It's that noise that's playing, and it slowly pans around the house. And you don't see Cassie, you don't see Paxton, you don't see Maggie. All you see is that one ant that's been chilling in the house the entire movie, playing the drums. And then that's it. So I think it's safe to assume all three of them also got, snapped away. But again, with Cassie being recast as older for Infinity War Part 2, which still doesn't have an official title yet, it's I don't know who is, I don't know how they're going to really swing that. But for this movie, let's not look ahead to movies that might come out next year. Let's look at what this movie does itself very well. The movie is interesting because it takes place over the course of like a day, if that, where Scott has a dream. Well, Scott's under house arrest because because of his involvement in Civil War. So he's got to stay under house arrest. And he's got an FBI agent handler who checks up on him, makes sure everything's good. So he goes he goes about his day, and then he has a dream where he's Janet, and he sees himself playing with a younger version of Hope. So he calls Pym and tells him that he has the dream, which is kind of what propels him into the plot. And at this point on, there are now three separate forces all vying for the same thing. Everyone wants the quantum technology. There is Ghost, who wants the quantum technology to heal her because she's in immense pain and she's basically dying as she uses as she's existing because of her power set, ripping her apart and putting her back together constantly. Then there's the businessman whose name I'm forgetting. There's a southern businessman who's also there. He wants to sell it. And then there is Pym and Scott and Hope who want it to extract Janet from the quantum realm. So by the time the third act comes around, when they send Pym into the quantum realm to retrieve Janet, the whole final confrontation has it's a mad world vibe, where you have all of these people all fighting for the same thing and all fighting each other for this thing, where it's not like there's a coalition trying to get it. It's just business, self-preservation, and saving the wife, where it's a very unique take to have in a movie like this. Meanwhile, you have Scott is under house arrest the whole time, so he's got to keep going back to the house, and he's got to, keep tabs on that, so that way if something's going to go wrong, so that way he ends up having to, go to prison for 20 years. He doesn't want that to happen. Obviously, he doesn't want to be away from his daughter, which I think is one of the highlights of the movie, is the relationship between Scott and his daughter. Paul Rudd makes it come off so effortless, the chemistry he has with the girl who plays Cassie. And it comes off really like a realistic relationship. It doesn't look like they're acting through the whole thing. So that's another one of the things that's really great in the movie. Another really great thing is Bobby Cannavale and Judy Greer are not quite in the movie that much. They're kind of there, but not really, which would detract, because I think the movie would function just as well if it was just Cassie, Luis and his crew, and then, the supporting cast of Pym and Hope and all that. So what else did they really address with this movie? I mean, the whole movie functions very well. There's not really any time where the movie kind of, like, I've seen movies this year that drag and get to a point you're like, all right, let's just get this over with. Solo, the last movie I did for this, Solo dragged. Holy fuck did that movie drag. We were just like, can we just finish this and go home? This movie doesn't drag, and by the time I left, I was confused. I thought it was very short, but I was in the theater for 2.5 hours. So it's a very well-paced movie, too, and the soundtrack is great, and I really love the theme they have for Ant-Man. His character theme is really good. But yeah, if you haven't seen this movie yet, I would definitely recommend you go out and see it, because it's fantastic, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a good family movie, because I don't think they even curse in this movie once, and you have, and there's a lot going on. I don't think anyone curses. It's actually a really good family film. So if you haven't seen it already, go see it. Maybe I'll be able to see Incredibles 2 tonight because of if everyone is off seeing this instead of seeing Incredibles 2, it'll actually be able to get a seat. But yeah, definitely see it in 3D because same thing as with the first Ant-Man. When you see it, all the effects in the quantum realm look very similar to the effects they use for the Dark Dimension and all that stuff in Doctor Strange, and it all looks fantastic in 3D. If you can see it in IMAX, I would say see it in IMAX because, again, it's like Infinity War was shot for IMAX, so definitely see it. I'm not sure if this movie was shot for IMAX, but it was definitely shot with 3D in mind. Because a lot of the set pieces really pop in 3D, not pop out at you to try and like do a jump scare, but like the depth is good. It's a very well shot for 3D movie. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. And if you, and that's the other thing is if movies are so expensive, if it's worth paying the extra $5 to see it in 3D. This one definitely is one of those movies. It's like Avatar, and this one's also one of those movies you need to see in 3D. So yeah, that's where we'll wrap this up for today because, I mean, there's not much to talk about the plot. It's a very cut and dry plot. Things happen. In what you can basically put together the plot from the trailers. It's not like Infinity War where we knew nothing going in and everything was a surprise. Everything is basically assumed going into this. Just some character motivations and things like that are surprises. Where Goliath lands in the whole thing is a little bit of a surprise, but not really. And Perry White, I'm sorry, that's not his name. That's who he played in Justice League and Batman v Superman. Lawrence Fishburne is he's so much better here than he is as Perry White. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's a great actor too, but this is he comes off effortlessly charismatic when he needs to be, but then in other times he goes into this deeply conflicted part of the movie where he doesn't know if he should continue helping Ava, who is Ghost, and he doesn't know if he should continue helping her because of the means she's taking to help herself. And it's just so good because he knows that she's going through a lot, but he also knows there's a moral line that you shouldn't cross. So yeah, and I'm gonna stop now because every time I think about it, I start adding in more things that just spoil. Like the whole scene in the school is hilarious. There's the whole scene with that whole climax. I'm not even gonna get into the climax of the movie because the final chase of them of them all playing basically it's just them playing a high-speed road chase version of Kill the Guy with the Ball, but the ball is the lab that's shrunk down in their lap. And it's so good. And the fact that Luis is there, and Luis is kind of the outsider looking in, he's our way in as the audience, where you can see, like, holy shit, all these people around me are doing these incredible things, and I'm kind of here helping as best I can. And no one is wasted in this movie. But yeah, definitely go see it if you get the chance. And I'll be back either again tonight with another episode or Monday, depending on how I'm feeling. So with that, good night, I guess is the right way to say it, because good afternoon is weird. So good night.